The rain fell relentlessly that night. The drops struck the roof of the old orphanage as if the sky were crying for what was about to happen. Clutching a small, tattered backpack and with his shoes soaked, a boy of barely 7 years old stood still at the entrance, trembling from the cold. His name was Gabriel, and his eyes, though open, could not see the darkness surrounding him, because Gabriel had been born blind. "You'll be better here," a male voice said quickly, almost whispering, as if afraid of being discovered. It was his father. Gabriel extended a hand, searching for his voice, but there was no one there. "Dad? Mom?" Silence. No one responded. Only the sound of a car driving away and the howling of the wind. Gabriel's heart beat loudly. He didn't understand what was happening. He had heard arguments at home, words like burden, destiny, damned luck, but he never thought they would leave him like this, alone. He couldn't see, but he felt it. He felt it deep in his soul. They had abandoned him. An elderly woman opened the door of the orphanage after hearing the bell. Upon seeing the drenched little boy, her face filled with sadness. "Are you alone, child?" Gabriel nodded, his lips trembling. "My parents said I'd be better here." She hugged him gently, wrapping him in a warm blanket. She didn't ask any more questions. Sometimes pain spoke for itself. That night, in a stranger's bed, surrounded by unknown children, Gabriel prayed alone for the first time. In a soft voice, barely audible, he whispered, "God, if you're there, please, don't leave me too." And so, amid tears and darkness, began a story marked by abandonment but destined for faith. ChatGPT Plus. The days at the orphanage were long for Gabriel. While the other children ran, played, and colored with crayons, he sat in silence, his hands folded on his lap, his gaze lost in nothingness. But what no one saw was what was happening inside of him. Gabriel was learning to see with his heart. One afternoon, as the sun's rays streamed warmly through the window, Mrs. Clara, the same woman who had received him that rainy night, sat beside him with a smile. "Do you know something, Gabriel?" she said in a soft voice. "There's a light that's not seen with the eyes, but with the soul, and that light comes from God." Gabriel tilted his head, curious. "And how do you find that light, if you can't see it?" Clara took his hands and placed them over his chest. "Right here. It's called faith. When you believe, even if you don't see, when you trust, even when you're afraid, then you start to see with God's eyes." From that day on, Clara told him Bible stories every night before bed. She spoke of Moses, of David, of Jesus healing the blind. Gabriel listened intently, and although he didn't say it, something inside him began to change. A gentle warmth filled his chest when he prayed. An inner voice told him he wasn't alone. "Do you think God made me blind by mistake?" he asked one night. Clara sighed, gently stroking his hair. "God doesn't make mistakes. Sometimes he allows certain things to show that his power has no limits. Gabriel, you don't need to see the world to light it up. You just have to believe." And in the midst of that darkness, a small seed of faith began to grow in the boy's heart. The years passed, and Gabriel became a calm, kind boy with a sensitivity that moved those who knew him. Although he couldn't see, his hearing captured every detail. The crunching of leaves in autumn, the singing of birds at dawn, the shy laughter of new children arriving at the orphanage. His world was made of sounds, sensations, and faith. But what he loved most was music. One day, Clara found an old, dusty piano in the attic of the orphanage. She decided to place it in the common room, thinking the children might enjoy it. However, it was Gabriel who felt drawn to it, as if he had known it forever. He sat down in front of the keys, hesitant at first. But when his fingers touched the first chord, something lit up inside him. "I can feel the notes," he said with a smile that seemed to light up his face. Day by day, he began to practice by ear. He repeated sounds, memorized melodies, and soon filled the orphanage with music that came directly from his soul. He played for the sad children, for the tired caregivers, for Clara when her health began to decline. One morning, after finishing a soft melody, Clara hugged him with tears in her eyes. "You don't need to see, Gabriel. You make others see with what they hear. You are a light in this house." Gabriel lowered his head, moved. "Do you think someday I'll be able to play for God?" Clara smiled gently. "You already do, son. Every note you play is a prayer, and God hears every one of them." In that moment, Gabriel felt a deep certainty in his heart. He didn't know why, but something told him that his life would not end within those walls, that his story had not yet been fully written. Winter arrived with a colder chill than usual. The children huddled under thick blankets, and the orphanage's fireplaces never rested. Clara, however, began to fall ill. Her cough grew stronger and her steps slower. Gabriel noticed everything. One night, while everyone slept, he sat by her bed with his portable keyboard, a gift someone had donated a year ago, and played the sweetest melody he knew. When he finished, Clara took his hand gently. "My little Gabriel, I don't know how much longer I'll be here," she said, her voice breaking, "but I want you to remember something very important." Gabriel pressed his lips together, trying to hold back the tears. "What is it?" "Never stop believing. No matter how dark everything seems, faith is always stronger. Promise me." "I promise," he whispered. "And one more thing," Clara added with a soft smile. "One day you'll leave here. The world needs to hear you. And when that moment comes, you'll know what to do." Gabriel didn't answer. He just nodded, though he didn't know how. Who would want him out there? Who would trust a blind child with no last name, no story? But Clara knew. That boy had something the world needed. Days later, Clara passed away quietly, leaving an irreplaceable void. She was buried in the orphanage garden, under the tree where she had so often told stories. Gabriel, with eyes full of tears and a broken heart, played one final melody in her honor. It was his goodbye and his commitment to the promise. From then on, he played every day for God and for Clara, convinced that somewhere she was listening. The years passed and Gabriel grew. He was now a teenager with a soft voice and a strong spirit. He was still blind, but he could now orient himself by the sounds and the echo of spaces. His hearing had become so sharp that he could distinguish even the rustle of leaves falling meters away. And above all, he kept playing. One day, the orphanage received a visit from an elegant woman, dressed in beige and with a curious look. She was part of a foundation looking for talent among the most vulnerable youth. As she passed through the hall, she stopped abruptly. Gabriel was playing a piece he had composed himself. He didn't read sheet music, didn't have guides, just the notes in his heart. "Who is he?" the woman asked, impressed. "His name is Gabriel," a caregiver replied. "He's never seen the piano, but it seems like he can speak through it." The woman slowly approached as Gabriel finished the piece. Upon hearing her steps, he smiled. "Did you like it?" he asked without opening his eyes. "Very much. Did you compose it?" "Yes. It's called Light in the Darkness." "And why that name?" Gabriel shrugged. "Because I believe God gave me a light, even though I can't see it, and I try to share it." That phrase stayed in the woman's heart. Without hesitation, she spoke with the management and organized a scholarship for Gabriel to study music at a specialized academy for visually impaired individuals. The farewell was emotional. The children, the caregivers, and even the cooks hugged him with affection. For the first time, Gabriel was stepping into the world, alone, but with something much stronger than fear, an unshakable faith that God was guiding him. As he boarded the bus, he felt a soft breeze on his face, and he remembered Clara's words. "One day you'll leave here. The world needs to hear you. And when that moment comes, you'll know what to do." That day had come. The academy was a new world for Gabriel, a place filled with unfamiliar sounds, voices with different accents, instruments of all kinds, and, for the first time, others like him. People who couldn't see with their eyes, but who illuminated with their art, their laughter, and their strength. Gabriel quickly stood out. His teachers were amazed by his perfect pitch, his ability to compose, and above all, by the emotion he infused into every piece. He didn't play like the others. He played as if every note were a conversation between his soul and the sky. One day, the director of the academy called him to his office. "Gabriel, there's a charity gala next week. Musicians, businessmen, and even leaders of important foundations will attend. I want you to open the event." "Me?" he asked, surprised. Your music is not just talent, son. It's hope, and the world needs to hear that." Gabriel felt nervous, but also a deep peace. He knew he was not alone, that God had guided every step, even those he had taken in complete darkness. On the night of the event, the theater was packed. Absolute silence. The only sound was the sound of his footsteps as he approached the grand piano at the center of the stage. He sat down, took a deep breath, and let his fingers speak. The piece he chose was the same one he had composed as a child, "Light in the Darkness." But now it was different, more mature, deeper, more alive. And as he played, he remembered everything. The rain, the abandonment, Clara's voice, the children of the orphanage, his first prayer in the darkness. When the last note resonated, the audience stood up. No one clapped just for the music, but for the story, for the miracle of faith they had just witnessed. After the concert, Gabriel was surrounded by people who wanted to meet him, congratulate him, and hug him. Among them was a woman with a familiar face, though the young man couldn't see her. She approached with hesitant steps and a broken voice. "Gabriel, I'm your mother." The silence that followed was as thick as the air before a storm. He turned his face toward her, saying nothing. The murmur of the theater seemed to fade away. Only his breath remained, and the distant echo of his childhood. "I'm so sorry," she said, through sobs. "Not a single day has gone by that I haven't regretted it. I thought I couldn't give you a dignified life, and I left you with more darkness. But today, hearing you play, I knew that the light was always in you, and I couldn't see it." Gabriel swallowed hard. Inside him, many emotions fought to come out. Anger, sadness, but also something stronger, compassion. "I don't judge you," he responded with a calm voice. "When you left me, I learned to speak with God. He didn't take away my blindness, but he taught me to see beyond. And thanks to that, I found my purpose." She fell to her knees, crying uncontrollably. Gabriel, guided by faith and not by sight, crouched down and hugged her. "Will you forgive me?" she whispered. "Of course," he said. "God forgave me first. How could I not forgive you?" The audience, witnesses to this sacred moment, did not applaud. They remained silent as if they were in the presence of a miracle. Because they were. Gabriel didn't just play music. He touched hearts. And that night, his faith had not only elevated him, but had healed what seemed impossible. A year later, Gabriel was giving concerts in various places across the country. He wasn't seeking fame or money. Each performance was an opportunity to share what he had learned, that faith can light a flame even in the darkest night. His compositions were recorded and sent to hospitals, orphanages, and prisons. He received letters from people who said they had regained hope just by listening to his melodies. But what filled him most was returning, from time to time, to the orphanage. There, beneath the old tree where Clara rested, Gabriel played in silence, as if each note were a conversation between the earth and the sky. One day, surrounded by children listening in the garden, one of them asked him, "How did you manage to get through when you couldn't see?" Gabriel smiled and looked up at the sky. "Because even though my eyes were closed, my heart was open. And that's where God's light entered. That light was my guide, my strength, and my reason for living." The child fell silent, reflecting. Then he took his small hand and placed it over his chest, imitating the gesture Clara had made so many years before. Gabriel felt a lump in his throat, but he smiled, because he understood that his story wasn't just his own. It was a chain of faith, love, and redemption that would continue as long as there was someone willing to see with the soul. And so, the blind boy who was abandoned became the man who illuminated thousands. Not for what he could see, but for what he believed.